everyone. We're on.
Hey, welcome to Gamers for Peace, an initiative of Veterans for Peace. We are a group of anti-war veterans and allies who are speaking out against military recruitment to kids in gaming and streaming. And this is our Rocket League team practice. As a team, we demonstrate good sportsmanship and online gameplay. We create inclusive gaming and streaming environments, and we have open discussions about the realities of military recruiting, service, and war. This is Little Pistons. I'm a gamer for peace and the Rocket League coach and a Veterans for Peace ally. And with me today is our tech guru, Sincerely V, and our Rocket team member, Smedley Butler was right. Smedley, you want to? Well, actually, let's start with Sin because Smedley, we're going to talk about your topic again this week. So, Sin, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sincerely V, uh, also known as that guy that lurks inside our Discord. I'm a Veteran for Peace digital organizer, a Gamers for Peace member of the FPS team, and slowly becoming a member of the Rocket League team that's here. Like, no,
Yes.
don't get your hopes up that
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
Uh, I'm a United States Marine Corps vet, having served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Uh, After getting out, I wandered this system and country in my own way, uh, then found my way into veteran uh, advocacy via Disabled American Veterans, and then coming into the anti-war effort and through my own healing journey with Veterans for Peace. So happy to be here and really interested in getting into this conversation. I'll pass it over to Smedley.
Okay, so hi, I'm Smedley Butler was right. Um, I am a Marine Corps vet and member of Veterans for Peace and a member of the Rocket League team.
And Smedley, you have your topic again this week. Last week we talked about military sexual trauma. That was an excellent conversation. Thanks to your um, research and then recruiting for that topic. And then also this week is what, AUMF, so Authorization
Yes.
for Use of Military Force. Do you want to just kind of give us some background on what that means in like a non-government legalese jargon way?
Okay, so yeah, I feel kind of bad monopolizing all of the non Falcon and Winter Soldier topic ideas,
Don't feel
but
bad.
uh,
Don't feel.
um, so yeah, the AUMF, because the government has to, make alphabet soup out of everything. It's like you said, it stands for Authorization for Use of Military Force. And when I was doing my research for it, um, one of the things that I read was that the last time our country actually declared war on anyone was in World War II. Um, and so a nice convenient way to get around not having a actual declaration of war is with one of these AUMFs. Um, and obviously, declaration of war is pretty, things are within reason, uh, unlimited. There are still international laws that we're supposed to abide by.
Mm.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I think I lost connection there. So with
Yeah.
the
I wasn't sure if it was me or you.
with the AUMFs, it's a theoretically a more limited use of military power. Um, but what we have seen over the past couple of decades is that the president, whoever the president happens to be, because it doesn't really matter whether it's Republican or Democrat, the president will find a justification. They'll find a way to use one of the existing AUMFs in order to achieve whatever goal they want to achieve. And that's a big part of the problem with having these things sitting around for 2 decades now, almost exactly 2 decades for the authorization to go into Afghanistan, and just barely under that for the 2002 authorization. Um,
So just to like back up here for a second. So Vietnam, that was also under something similar in AUMF, or?
yeah, I didn't uh, didn't have time to look into specifically what it was, but the article that I was reading said that yeah, the last time we actually declared war was in World War II. So Vietnam, I believe, was another AUMF. Korea, I believe, was based off of a UN resolution, not I don't think there was an AUMF with that one. I could be wrong. Um, and then, there were also other little bits of imperialism, like Panama and Grenada. I'm not sure how they handled those. Um, but yeah, the Desert Storm, which another fun thing that I found out, that was a 1991 AUMF, and that one is still on the books for 30 years. That one is still in effect.
Really?
I found, yeah, I found that out because of one of the articles that I was reading. Um, it was a fun little article at Politico that was sponsored by the defense industry, like a newsletter. Um, but GOP in the Senate has at least delayed a vote on the 2002 AUMF repeal. The reason that I came up with this topic was because last week the House to repeal the 2002 AUMF. And today, the Senate was supposed to vote on it, or the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, I should say, was supposed to vote on it. But there were 5 GOP senators, one of whom was Mitt Romney, oh, that great, great Republican hero that will save us from Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell. He was one of the Republican senators that wrote a letter saying, oh, no, no, we need to look at this issue more. We shouldn't have a vote on it now. We need to have hearings and debriefings and yada, yada, yada. So at this point, who knows? The article I was reading implied that it could possibly be voted on Thursday, but let's be realistic, and that's not going to happen because I forget who it was. The head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he already delayed the vote, um, giving them their way once. I don't think he's going to reverse course that quickly. Unfortunately, I feel like this may be the slow death of it. Um, what little I understand of the legislative process from hearing about the way that bills work in the past. You know,
Smedley, real quick, not to interrupt you, I apologize. Little Pistons, can you take us back to the garage real quick? I just realized that my scoring song might get us DMCA'd.
Oh, copyright.
Yeah, because like the
Okay.
LGBTQ Pride Month audio pack
Oh,
includes Lil Nas's awesome song "Call Me by Your Name," which I had made my profile,
hmm,
and I just realized that it
okay.
could be causing an issue. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even mad that we were getting annihilated because every time you scored, that song came on. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And also, your wheels on your car are pretty sweet.
thank you. They're free. You can get them if you go into the store right now and scroll over to free event. You'll get them all.
What? Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Smedley.
Um, so yeah, what I was saying, with the time of year, we're already into June, almost into July at this point. Um, you know, Congress takes vacations like nobody else, and we still have Fourth of July, uh, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all coming up, and I'm pretty sure they take vacations for all of them, go into recess for all of them. So if the Republicans get their way in the Senate and have all sorts of public hearings and debriefings, I can see them delaying this until the next Congress, at which point it would have to be reintroduced and voted on again,
So,
unfortunately.
so what exactly is the AUMF like completely authorizing the president to do that? But what does the AUMF exactly bypass um, from a like in a congressional standpoint? I'm slightly
So
like
normally, Congress is supposed to declare war to for us to use the military in a way. The AUMF bypasses a formal declaration of war. Um, it gives the president theoretically temporary powers to use the military in within a certain set of parameters. So, um, for instance, with this AUMF, the 2002, um, and this is part of the ridiculousness of this whole thing. Uh, the 2002 AUMF was used for the Iraq War invasion. So it was, first of all, I read the AUMF this afternoon, and it's like 5 or 6 pages, and it's a lot of, whereas Saddam Hussein did
Mm.
this and Iraq did that, blah, 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 putting everything but the kitchen sink in there um, as a justification for this use of military.
Oh, did we lose them?
I think we lost him. Give him just a moment to come back. While he's coming
I
back.
mean,
Oh no, go ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry. No, you please.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm a very cynical person. So my question is always, where is the money coming from, or who stands to benefit from this? And the fact that Smedley learned about this from a defense contractor newsletter or one of the AOMFs makes me just think this is just money. This is just the defense industry not wanting to lose a way to sell more products to the government. Like, oh, hey, you still have this active resolution out. Don't you think you need more planes, tanks, whatever, drones? So this
Right.
just seems like a money thing to me.
Yeah. So I'm not sure where my headphones cut out again, but yeah,
Nope.
the so what I was saying about the AUMF, it was theoretically supposed to be to go after Saddam Hussein and find the mythical weapons of mass destruction. That was supposed to be the limit of it. But then, we got Saddam and he was executed, and there were no weapons of mass destruction, and they declared the war over. And 10 years later, we still have the AUMF. And like I wrote down in the notes, I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at them, but you know, Donald Trump, if you remember, one of the things he did was he assassinated a Iranian general, and he used the 2002 AUMF as his justification for going after uh, Qasem Soleimani. So, this AUMF that should have been repealed at least 10 years ago was used to almost start a war with Iran.
Yeah, and what I read, and what little I read, I'll be straight up honest there. And from Wikipedia, but I could go on my Wikipedia spiel another time. Was that part of it was too to go after anyone who was suspected of being responsible for 9/11. So that's just kind of like
Right,
you can throw the dart at the dartboard and justify anything with something as broad as that, I think.
So
right.
I think it's really interesting that you bring that up, because just today there's a new brief about terrorism, uh, like leak. Ken Klippenstein leaked, or had a new military training document was leaked that redefined domestic terrorism as a domestic terrorism handbook, and it equated socialists, anarchists, and neo Nazis as the same level of terrorists. So like this AUMF stuff is actually important because the AUMF is how Obama took us, got involved with ISIS. They justified ISIS as pursuing ISIS in various nations as an extension of Al Qaeda, even though Al Qaeda was technically a rival to ISIS at the same period when we were targeting Al Qaeda, and it got justified. So these things are important in a domestic sense also to actually discuss, right? Because leftist organizations that are talking about getting healthcare for everybody and are identifying them in various ways can very easily be justified or be referred to as terrorists, in accordance with the new kind of documentation that's coming out from the military. And
Yeah.
even Biden, I'll save this next point. I want to get your thoughts about that.
I mean, it's playing into conservatives. Oh no, what did I do? It's playing into the conservative um, mindset that Antifa is this big giant boogeyman that is out destroying the cities. After the Black Lives Matter protests that went on for months and months, and any act of violence it was all Antifa. January 6th. Oh, it was Antifa. No, it wasn't. Um, it's it's absurd. Like,
Definitely a little scary.
I so I know in another stream we've talked about and pulled up the I don't know if it was in a Rocket League stream, but I know in another Gamers for Peace stream we've talked about the boxes that Senator Tom Cotton and Dan Crenshaw were talking for their whistleblower hotlines, specifically looking for like red baiting in the military to have like a snitch program about leftist organizing in the military or leftist thought in the military. So that seems like a pretty good reason for Republicans to keep the boogeyman and keep the AUMF in place to allow that conversation, that narrative to continue to exist, that like the Red Scare or the new Red Scare of 2021 is in our military, that it's all encompassing, and keeping the AUMF on board allows for that flexibility and semantics to be played, which dictates who a future sitting president can target underneath as a terrorist and domestic terrorist and things like that. So the AUMF coming off the books is important, but Biden's administration says, and I'm pulling a quote that I read today, the administration supports the repeal of 2002 AUMF as the United States has no ongoing military activities that rely solely on the 2002 AUMF as a domestic legal basis, and repeal of the 2002 AUMF would likely have minimal impact on current military operations. This is a quote directly from the Office of Management and Budget. Furthermore, the president is committed to working with the Congress to ensure the outdated authorizations for the use of military force are replaced with a narrow and specific framework appropriate to ensure that we can continue to protect Americans from terrorist threats. The OMB continued. So, that narrow framework, who dictates that narrow framework? I know that like the FBI, and there's many definitions of what terrorism is. None of them apply to the United States state apparatus or administration. And the military looks like it's changing its framework and definition to include leftist anarchists and socialists. The opposition to those that were literally overthrowing the Capitol on January 6th. So those two quotes and the revelation from Ken Klippenstein and the basic lack of actual any movement on Trump's issues, and expansion on military spending and all these things really perks my ears, gets my antennas moving about the dog and pony show that is being paraded as not on Representative Lee's efforts, because her efforts are amazing, but on the desire of Republicans, the political gamesmanship that is being played about letting a portion of it go, while keeping the actual intent and spirit of its capabilities in place while actually expanding upon its position, and not in no way it does it limit. So we get to take this little win when it doesn't actually address the bigger issues.
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I read that same thing earlier. Biden is behind this move to repeal the 2002 AUMF. He gave it away in that statement. He's behind this move because he doesn't see it as affecting his ability to make things go boom. Because there is still the 2001 AUMF, which is broader. Even though they have really stretched the intent of the 2002 AUMF, getting rid of it, it doesn't affect them, because they could have used the 2001 AUMF just as easily and with more, more legitimacy, I guess you could say, in quotation marks, than the 2002 AUMF. Because like I said, that one was designed just to apply to Iraq, whereas 2001 was to go after 9/11 and the people who perpetrated 9/11, to go after Al Qaeda and their affiliates, which, you know, can be and has been used to go after any number of organizations that didn't even exist in 2001. So he doesn't mind getting rid of the 2002 authorization, especially if he thinks he can get a new authorization out of it.
The justifications that can be used for the January 6th uprising and this push in domestic terrorism, and the march to the center, which is actually a march to the right in the language of who did what, the inaction of Congress and all those things play into getting a new authorization. And as far as like our international policy is concerned, the AUMF, like there's been, I wonder, I want to speculate about the use of private military, the offloading of the Iraq and Afghanistan war, in particular the Afghanistan war, especially with Biden saying 9/11 or September is when they're going to remove all ground troops from Afghanistan. And previous conversations here on Gamers for Peace, we've talked about the increased privatization of the military. So if Biden's camp is saying, well, we don't even need the 2002 AUMF because we got the 2001, and plus, Eric Prince and former Blacklaw, or what's it called?
Blackwater.
Blackwater, thank you. Do our work for us anyway. They're still training local militias or local forces that operate in our interest, and we're doing all these things. It really, I think we should all be slightly alarmed or suspicious of what potential AUMFs, the escalation of the AUMFs that we'll see in the future. And we should be very loudly advocating about never having an AUMF granted again. Like, removing the ability for that to be granted.
Yeah, it's, I don't know if either of you remember this, but in my reading, one of the articles I was reading mentioned how Obama at one point had advocated for repealing the 2002 AUMF. And I remember there was a lot of talk towards the end of his second term about, we need to repeal this AUMF, we need to repeal them, they're outdated, we don't need them anymore, blah, blah, blah. And where have we gotten since then? We still have them. It's that old saying, power concedes nothing. They'll only give up this one if they believe that they're going to be able to keep those powers somehow by keeping the 2001 in place or by getting a new AUMF. And one of the things that I remember hearing at the time was, people just don't, and since then, various people in Congress, they're always thinking of their next election. They don't want to be the ones that appear to be weak on terror. So, they'll go out there in front of the cameras and they'll talk about, we need to repeal this AUMF. But in the back of their minds, they're thinking, okay, what is this going to do during my next primary or during the next general? Am I going to lose my office because of this? So that's, I think, a lot of the reason, plus who they get their money from. A lot of them get their money from the defense industry. But those two things, thinking about their donations and thinking about keeping their office, keep this vote from really getting anywhere, I think. And that's why part of the reason why they will never. I don't know. I don't want to be too doomer, but I don't know that we'll ever really get rid of the AUMFs because, it's not a full declaration of war. Declaration of war is a bigger deal. There were a lot of protests against the AUMFs the most recent AUMFs that we have, the '01 and the '02. There were a lot of protests against them, but I can only imagine and hope that they would be 2, 3, 4 times as big if Congress was debating an actual full-on declaration of war against someone.
Yeah, it really changes the dynamic of what we're doing as a country when it's like you can kind of weasel out of things and be like, well, it's not a war. We didn't actually formally declare war. And then to have to make those decisions and have those conversations in public, in Congress, it
Yeah.
just makes it real shadowy and probably takes a lot of guilt off of people's shoulders or that feeling of responsibility as
Yeah.
representatives. Oops, almost accidentally muted you guys. Sorry.
I
In the
want
game.
to throw it out there real quick. Do you guys want to, instead of just running twos, there's only 3 of us, we can go into some regular matches, unranked matches
Play
if we
real
wanted to.
people.
Yeah, and just flex our ability to have high level, big brain conversations about militarization of our civilian population while kicking ass and taking names in some regular matches. Who's down for that?
Yeah,
You're so
sounds good to me.
optimistic. Okay.
Remember, Pistons, remember, this time if we play 3v3, Sin will be on our side.
I am not that good.
True.
You pump me up way too much, but I am. You know what? I'm gonna make the flex that I absolutely want. Say my name as my scoring song. DMCA be damned, because it's in the game and we are playing the game. They can't. No, record labels. No. I get this song.
Yeah, I think the only reason it might be more noticeable is because it is really popular right now compared to some of these other more extreme songs.
Yeah, I've seen Montero in here too.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that randomly play.
Nice.
Aww.
So Haas, thank you for pointing out that it's a miracle that we somehow didn't end up in World War III with the Soleimani assassination. Like that it was just straight American military budget is the only reason that nobody got pissed off at us, or like there was no repercussion.
And the other thing is, I remember from the time I don't want to sound like I'm praising Iran too much, because they of course have a lot of problems as well, but they showed a hell of a lot of restraint. Because what I remember at the time, they launched a few rockets at our base, but they also called ahead of time to say, hey, we're going to be launching these rockets so that we can save face and say that we struck back. Get your people under cover because they're coming. And then that was that. Like, imagine, I don't know, imagine if he had assassinated like a Chinese general or Russian general or North Korean. I don't think it would have wound up the same way. But obviously that's just speculation.
I think who said it? Haas hit it perfectly. Thank God Iran doesn't have any defense alliances, right, in the game of politics.
Yeah.
That would challenge us in over this instance and or whatever. It's the justifications for the military use of force in any sovereign nation are absolutely fucked, and we allow that narrative to prevail and be justified, or like by keeping these laws on the books and or keeping these authorizations on the books. All right, I couldn't let us get shut out. Sorry, I wasn't making sense. I was really in on that one. Sorry. Just filling dead air. Somebody else take over for me.
I was waiting to back you up in case you didn't get there.
Thank you.
No, yeah, I think from what I could tell where you were going with that, the longer these authorizations are on the books, the more likely some president is going to continue misusing them. Like, right now, Biden, I don't remember hearing about any military strikes that he's done, but, I'm just unfortunately counting down the days. There's going to be a time when he's going to be convinced by the generals that we need to do this military strike. And there could have already been one that we just haven't heard about. So the longer that these things are on the book, it's just more and more likely that Biden will use them, and whoever is, if they're still on the book, whoever is president after Biden will use them. They just need to go away.
I kind of wonder how that impacts military recruiting or military recruiting targets. Like, is there some pressure to keep numbers up so that we're kind of like always at the ready since we have these on the book?
I'm gonna just throw this is complete speculation. First time I'm applying brain power to this thought. But with the constant shift in recruiting ads that we talk about towards a more younger and technologically more adept and cyber warfare framework, like if you look at current Space Force ads, you look at Army and Marine Corps ads, they're talking a lot about cyber warfare. If you look at news baiting, like China baiting and Russia baiting, talking about cyber warfare and security leaks and this and that. I think having those AUMFs and things like that on the books with such broad, diverse definitions, which allow current operations or conflicts that we're involved in to stay legitimate. Because when AUMF comes off the books, when the 2002 AUMF comes off the books, it makes it available to have, it's no longer above reproach to talk about getting out of Afghanistan and Iraq completely and the drawdown and things. So the longer those kinds of things stay on the books and the more conflicts that are tacitly endorsed and consent is manufactured for that are on the books, and people just passively have acquiesced to being there permanently as a permanent fixture, the easier it is for recruiting to be justified when we start talking about the terrorism, including cyber warfare and intelligence gathering and things like that. So I do think there is a recruitment purpose to this kind of stuff staying on the books, just because once Afghanistan is no longer allowed to be happening, it makes it hard to justify having more war efforts. So, unless another enemy is identified, and since the 2002 AUMF paved the way for terrorism to be expanded and just to become normally anybody against U.S. interests is now a terrorist. Like, that's everybody against the general state of the U.S. is a terrorist. Like, if you start expanding some of those definitions and the history of the U.S. So I think yeah, there's something there, and I didn't apply more thought to this, and now I'm meandering. So I'm gonna stop talking and secure this win.
Sorry, I ran into you. That was
It's all right. I've almost destroyed you how many times?
yeah, I think too, you know, right now I think I've seen that, oh no. Oh. I think I've seen that you can, into Army, you can get like a $12,000 plus sign up bonus or something. Um, and it's like, I'm sure that these can also be used to sweeten the pot, right? If enlistment numbers start going down, they can use it as justification to offer bigger incentives and bigger budgets and all of that.
Right. Yeah, the signing bonus has been a thing for a while, and it all depends on what MOS you get. Um, Different jobs get different bonuses. I think, if I remember right, from when I was in the Marines, the cap on the bonuses was like 90 grand. But that's a hell of a lot of money, you know.
Yeah, it is.
That's one really powerful recruiting tool, and I I'm not surprised that there are still signing bonuses, but I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping they had gone away. Um, but yeah, it's for as long as I can remember, that's been part of the recruiting tool, is promising bonuses. I know a lot of guys that re-enlisted. Actually, I almost re-enlisted because I would have gotten at at the time, before I became as left as I am at the time. Um, I think they were offering for my rank and my MOS. Uh, where I was at, if I remember right, it was around 24 grand for me to re-enlist, and that was just in the reserves. So I almost did it. My wife talked me out of it. Thankfully.
That is a smart person that you have been married to.
Yes.
So, what can, or what can the average citizen do to kind of like put pressure on removing some of these AUMFs?
I
Call your local
mean,
senator.
yeah.
Get involved with your friendly neighborhood anti-war activist organization that's been around since 85, 86, and has a long-standing history of fighting the war efforts since Vietnam, and other organizations that are similar. You become a member by going to veteransforpeace.org and clicking the How Do I Become a Member button that's located at the top, and you get involved. You hang out with Gamers for Peace, and you propose actions and campaigns to start addressing these concerns, and hop into our community that is here to actually do something, because that's the whole reason we're doing these streams, is because this shit scares us in various ways, and we have experienced the military-industrial complex firsthand in it, and we are speaking out, much like our predecessor Smedley Butler, who said war is a racket, because it is. And once you start talking about these intersecting variables and how it affects the efforts and comes home, like once you start realizing that the tactics and shit that are being used overseas are being exported and brought or re-imported back into our streets and being used on us stateside. in protest efforts or in quelling any rebuff of the status quo. So like that's what you do. You get your friends, you organize, you start talking about all the shit that you need to do to get the people's voices heard, that we don't want to be part of this anymore. We don't want to justify a fraudulent criminal act on behalf of the ruling class in 2002 to go into Iraq to be used to justify additional fraudulent war crimes in other countries. And so you have to start addressing it and working on it in whatever way you have available. Darn it.
I know, I was there too. I missed it.
Yeah, and I mean, I would also add on to what Sin was saying, because unless I missed it, I don't believe he mentioned, you do not need to be a veteran to join Veterans for Peace.
Thank you for saying
That's
that.
right, I am not
Just putting it
a
out
veteran.
there.
Uh-oh.
I almost had that.
I almost hit it in. So I'll take it as a victory. I did not hit it in. Dodging at the last second. Yeah, it takes so much energy to keep up with things that are happening, whether it's at the national level or your state or local level, especially when they're not way out in the open, declaring war way out in the open. Something like this can easily fall through the cracks of just like the average person. There's only so much energy that people have to expend. So I think
Right.
like just even highlighting, like you're saying, highlighting that some of this stuff is going on is so important.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say I've been to a number of protests over the years. I can't even count how many it was. You know, I've been to events to stop what's going on in Yemen. Just anti-war protests in general. Pro-Palestine rallies, things like that, and those are good. They'll get you on, hopefully, get you some good news coverage. But what Sin was saying, to call your senator, I would say that that's probably the easiest way, because a lot of people aren't, not everyone's going to have the time to go, especially if they don't live in the city. They're not going to have the time to go down to the city, however long that might take them, and go to.
Did we lose you, Smedley?
I think we lost him for a moment. Smedley's right, and you're absolutely right, Pistons. Like, each and every single one of these topics that we bring up is a current event. And to be a single person and try to tackle all this shit and feel like you are solely responsible for changing the world or being up to date on all this and, doing all this stuff, that's just doesn't work. You need more than one person. You need a support network and other people working with you to help keep you sane and to actually be effective. And so just a single person calling a senator doesn't necessarily do as much as we would like it to, or in a perfect world it should do. But a single person getting 3 of their friends, and those single people getting their friends to understand and the story of what's going on, to be able to have explanatory power to discuss what is going on, what's affecting us. Those things are all extremely important, and that can only happen inside of a group setting and in a community setting. And it very much challenged a lot of the U.S. state narrative or the military narrative and this individual and a lot of these other things when you start talking about getting and building a community, and it's not, the power isn't in one person, the power is in the collective group, working together for the betterment of them, for that group, right? Leveraging that power for the people, to get what they want, so that they feel safe and aren't complicit in oppressing a group of people or halfway around the world for material profit. You know.
Oh man. Well, what do y'all think?
You
More to
guys
say
want?
about this topic? We're wrapping up.
I think I'm good on it, but I wouldn't mind getting one more serious game in against these people. Try harding and the end of the night on a sweaty
Okay.
win. How's that sound with you
Yeah.
guys?
All
Yeah.
right. Are you voting for a rematch?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get sweaty. Come on, Rocket League team. Let's go.
Oh my goodness.
I love these rainbow wheels. Right.
Yeah, I gotta find where you get those for free.
I'm just saying, corporate pride sometimes does create cool things like rainbow wheels.
Yeah, I mean they have the resources to design cool stuff. Right? Oh.
That was a hell of a play. Was that Pistons that knocked, like, did that double hit with me?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh shoot. Sorry. Oh. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so glad they missed that. Oh, sorry, Sin.
You're okay.
I totally just set them up like.
I have no boost, so I'm not in the air. I got no ups.
Get in. I don't have any boost. No, not fast enough. Yeah, kind of like off topic, but oops, get in there. Oh, come on.
Nice shot.
Off topic, but somewhat relevant. Like things that just get quietly handled. The supervisors in my county. You remember when Wells Fargo got busted for fraud?
Mm-hmm.
So there was money given to communities who had people affected by that fraud, and they gave it to the police departments to buy riot gear, and it went very unnoticed.
Wow.
So that's a good use of that money, right?
Gotta love the 1033 military to civilian police pipeline.
And like money for consumer fraud. Why would you, like, why? How about like a consumer fraud education program or something, you know? Like, if you want to give it to the police, teach people how not to fall victim to scams and stuff, but no, right here.
Yeah. I mean, in like I forget if I've mentioned it before on stream, but you know, the industry that I work in retail, and one of the new things, new in quotations, it's been around for a few years, but it's probably the newest, is, you know, people calling up random numbers and saying, "Oh, you owe us all this money, but you know, you owe us $3,000. Well, we'll forget about it if you go down to Walmart and buy $500 worth of gift cards and send it to us." And people fall for it. You know, the police could have used some money to educate the public about that, but I bet they didn't.
Yeah. No. Well, they have the gear to, shut things down when people are protesting that they don't have any food or medicine or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, at least they've got the MRAP to help them evict people who haven't been able to pay rent because they've been out of work.
Seriously, when the police department got that, when they got one here in would have been 2014, I think. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what do we need this for? We don't need this. Oh, well, we need to be prepared for anything. We're far away from resources. Like, what are we preparing for here?
Like, I think the big boogeyman that they're using as their, in their minds at least, as their justification. Oh, sorry, Kristen, for
No
needing
problem.
this is, I don't know if either of you are remember it, if you are even old enough to remember it. In the 90s, there was a bank robbery, I think it was, in LA, and the guys the guys that did the bank robbery, they had heavy weaponry and body armor, and the cops had like their handguns, their sidearms, and that was it. And they were like for a couple of hours, and they were pinned down as if it was a war zone. And that's the thing that conservatives always tout for needing more money for police forces. But that has happened once in the last 30 years, and it happened never leading up to it. So, really? For the one-off?
Yeah.
That I know exactly what you're talking about, and that absolutely was just since that has been the boogeyman that has made way for killology and the militarization of police forces, and yeah, absolutely impetuous or preceding event that
Yeah.
has had long-lasting ramifications about policing and and the and the pipeline of military gear to the police.
Mm-hmm.
Senator.
Yeah, I wasn't there. Sorry. Oh, they haven't scored any goals though. We're in a good position.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Ashton, be right when you respawn. All right.
Boom.
Good game to go out on.
And on
Game is
that,
for peace, right?
game is
Yeah.
for peace. You want to take us out, Lil Pistons?
Oh, let me get the Discord. I'm sure that I have the link, but just in case they don't. Oops, hold on. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for our Rocket League stream practice. If you're not in Discord, there is a link in the chat. Join us there. Combine your efforts, combine your voices to try to tackle some of these things that seem pretty impossible, but with enough group power, we can hopefully do something. Next week, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time for more Rocket League and a new topic. Maybe we'll give Smedley a break. I'll do some research. So, yeah. Anyone else have any last thoughts on anything?
Go ahead, Sam.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I would just say, since Sin brought it up, and he is the person that I chose to name myself after on here. To quote Smedley Butler, "War is a racket," and it's more true now than it ever was when he said it.
Drink water. Medicate to regulate. Meditate to I forgot my own saying that I just absolutely butchered. But everybody, take care of yourself. Self care is resistance. Living's an act of resistance, and building community is also an act of resistance. So fight the fight that you have to. And check us out in Discord and here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks, Sin, for running tech, and Steadley for bringing up this topic and doing the research.
Have a great night. We bid you adieu.
Good night.